Discover the touching, life-changing journey of Porsche. Amazing successes revealed over 75 years, in the heart of a small Midwestern town, where summer sunsets paint the sky with hues of orange and gold over endless fields. Jack, a 36-year-old mechanic, lived a life full of dreams. The sounds of grinding metal and laughter filled the air at his family's auto repair shop, a place where he had inherited not just a business, but a legacy that spanned generations. Every day, he found joy in grease-stained hands and the routine of hard work. But nothing warmed his heart quite like the sight of his spirited daughter, Emma, playing outside. Her laughter echoed off the shop walls, a sweet melody of childhood bliss that gave Jack hope for a brighter future. But dreams can be fragile. One morning, the tranquility of his life shattered when a wealthy developer announced plans to buy out Jack's workshop to construct luxury condos. The weight of the proposal crushed him. Suddenly, he faced a cruel dilemma. Take the money for Emma's future or battle to uphold the roots of a community that had always championed him. Each night, Jack returned home with a heavy heart to his retired veteran father, who had taught him the value of grit and determination. It was the unwavering pride in his father's eyes that ignited a fire within Jack. He wasn't just fighting for his shop. He was standing up for every neighbor who believed in American values of perseverance and ingenuity. As the days dragged on, Jack found himself digging deeper into his dreams, hoping to build a car that could rival the Porsche, a machine that wouldn't just drive but inspire. When his estranged brother, Tom, barged back into his life with visions of an electric vehicle that could revolutionize the industry, things grew complicated. They had unresolved issues, wounds that ran deep from years of separation. But perhaps their shared passion could mend what had been broken. Together, they could fight for their family's legacy, even as the looming developer seemed to possess unwavering influence. In the diner down the street, friends gathered, sharing tales of their struggles and dreams, reigniting the flames of hope in the small town. Jack felt the collective spirit building around him. Could they awaken the stubborn tenacity that was woven into the very fabric of their community? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jack prepared for a pivotal public meeting to advocate for his shop and their community's future, doubts crept in. What if they lost everything? Families in town weighed the promise of security against the fear of losing their home. Jack stood before them, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. Would they choose brave resistance over the comfort of financial relief? But just as he gathered the courage to step to the microphone, the doors burst open, and in strode a figure from his past, the ruthless partner of the developer. Jack's heart raced. Here stood the embodiment of everything he feared, and he knew the real battle was about to begin, one that could redefine his life forever. What would Jack choose, and what would be left behind? Jack's breath hitched in his throat as the figure of Martin Hayes sauntered into the room, confidence radiating from him like a potent cologne. Jack had known Martin since their high school days, but those memories now felt tainted by the weight of betrayal. Martin had found fortune and success at the expense of other people's dreams, and here he was, once more, ready to strike. The murmurs in the crowd rose like a tide as all eyes turned toward Martin. Jack could sense the unease spreading like wildfire. He clenched his fist, clinging to the rough calluses of his work. The sharp voices of his community had been a symphony of support, but Martin's presence threatened to change the tune. "Good evening, folks," Martin said, flashing a crooked smile that did nothing to mask his arrogance. "I know you're all here to support Jack's little venture, but let me assure you, the land is far more valuable when developed. I'm offering you all a much brighter future." Jack felt anger bubble up within him, clenched teeth keeping it at bay. "And at what cost, Martin?" He spat out, the words heavy with years of resentment. The crowd turned to him, anticipation hanging thick in the air as they waited for his every word. "Your community, your history. Picture this shiny new condos with waterfront views. Who wouldn't want that? Martin leered, clearly enjoying every second. Jack's heart raced. He was aware of the seductive lure of what Martin promised. But was it worth losing the heart and soul of their town? These aren't just buildings. This is our home, our childhood. You can't just come in and strip away everything that makes this place special for a quick buck. The crowd around him responded with hushed voices, a mixture of uncertainty and burgeoning determination. And then, from the back, someone shouted, "Yes, right. We can't let them take it away." More voices joined in, echoing the sentiment. As the room erupted with shouts of support, Jack felt the warmth of camaraderie fill the space, quieting his fears. This was more than just his fight. It was theirs. Awareness washed over him that every individual behind him shared a common thread woven into the fabric of their town's history. Sacrifices made, laughter shared, community built. With renewed vigor, Jack stepped into the micah's halo of light, his voice stronger now as he channeled the emotions spilling from his heart. What we build here is not just a shop or a set of condos, it's the future of our kids. Can you imagine Emma growing up in a place without history? A world stripped of the values that we've cherished? Let us fight, not just for the brick and mortar, but for a legacy, for the whispers of our stories in every corner. Cheers erupted in the room, and Jack felt a surge of hope. He could see the fire in Emma's eyes reflected in each neighbor's gaze, all looking forward, ready to resist together. Martin scowled, realizing he was losing control. You think this is just bad news? I have more resources, more connections than you can imagine. Your fight is futile. But Jack could see it now. All their years of grit and resilience gave them more strength than any bank account. Then bring it on, Martin. We're not going to back down. With a pulse of eagerness spreading through the room, the first crack in Martin's confidence began to show. The battle was only just beginning. Jack took a deep breath, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. He could feel the weight of legacy on his shoulders as he turned back to face the crowd. He could see determination intensifying on their faces, unity forming like an unyielding chain. What trick would they unveil next to save their home? What sacrifices would be demanded? Jack's heart raced as he realized that every story held a spark of revolution, and this was theirs. The question now remained, could they ignite it into something unstoppable? Jack stood tall, the energy in the room buzzing like a live wire. The crowd's cheers still echoed in his ears, fueling the fire inside him. He caught glimpses of familiar faces. Ms. Rhodes from the bakery, her wrinkled hands clasped tightly. Old Mr. Williams, still feisty even at 80, nodding vigorously in agreement. They were all here, together, a collective heartbeat that harmonized with Jack's racing pulse. Martin's smirk didn't fade, but the confidence behind it wavered as the crowd rallied. Jack felt that this was not just a confrontation between him and Martin. It was a stand against the forces that sought to dismantle everything they had built together. All the memories, laughter, and tears were woven into the very ground they stood on. Jack, listen to reason. Martin's voice sliced through the air like a knife. You think nostalgia will pay the bills? This town needs to evolve. Can't survive on fond memories. Maybe it's not all about money. Jack shouted back, the challenge hanging heavy in the air. It's about community. It's about heart. You don't get to erase that because you think you know better. And like a spark in dry kindling, the crowd ignited. Voices rose, chants mingling in a cacophony of determination. Save our town. Save our history. They echoed, hearts pounding in a rhythm of defiance. Jack felt victory creeping its way into the air, but Martin wasn't finished. He sidled closer, his tone dropping to a mocking whisper. You know this one end well for you, right? Just one phone call, and I could destroy everything you've built, everything you love. For a moment, a flicker of doubt passed through Jack. What if Martin was right? What if he could dismantle the store, the community center, the park where the kids played? But then he caught Emma's gaze, her young face fierce and unyielding. No, he couldn't let fear rule him. Not now. Let me tell you something, Martin, Jack said, stepping closer, his voice steady. You may have the resources, but you will never understand this town like we do. We are the roots, the very foundation. We will fight for our home, for our past, and for our future." The room exploded into cheers once more. Jack's heart swelled. He took a deep breath, inhaling the energy, the hope. Williams had once told him that courage was not the absence of fear but acting despite it. He was trembling, yes, but he would not back down. Seeing his grip loosening, Martin narrowed his eyes. "You'll regret this, trust me," he hissed, turning away like a storm cloud retreating. As the murmurs of the crowd faded, Jack raised his hands, trying to maintain the momentum they had built. "We can't stop here. We need to organize. We need a plan. Let us meet at the old barn tomorrow. We'll talk strategies. We'll put our voices to action." One of the neighbors, a woman with vibrant hair and a warm smile, raised her hand. "I can cook for everyone. Bring the kids." Jack nodded, stomach easing. Ideas spun around him, reverberations of hope. But in the back of his mind, Martin's threat lingered like a shadow. What if he meant it? What other cards did he have hidden up his sleeve? Jack glanced at Emma, who looked back with wide, vibrant eyes. He leaned down, brushing her hair back gently. "I promise we'll keep this place safe, sweetheart." The crowd slowly dispersed, but the energy lingered, thick and heavy like the summer air. Jack knew the next steps would be just as crucial. As he left the room, determination ignited within him. But would they be able to withstand the storm that Martin was sure to bring? The day wasn't over. Together, they would stand strong. But in the back of his mind, the nagging thought remained, what was Martin planning next? The next day broke with the promise of change hanging in the air. Sunlight streamed through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the ground as neighbors trickled towards the old barn. Jack stood outside, anxiety twisting his stomach into knots. He had spent half the night dreaming of Martin's threats, each scenario spiraling out of control. As the first few arrived, he plastered on a confident smile and welcomed them. Their faces mirrored his own fear but also determination. Ms. Rhodes was the first to break the tension. "Jack," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "we're all with you. We can't let Martin win." He nodded, feeling the warmth of her words wrap around him like a blanket. One by one, more neighbors came. There was laughter mixed with nerves, kids running around while parents shared worried glances. Jack caught Emma's eye. She was scribbling in her notebook, her little brow furrowed in concentration. It made his heart swell with both pride and a fierce need to protect this place for her future. Jack gathered everyone in a circle, the loft above them filled with the smell of fresh hay. He cleared his throat. "Thank you all for being here. We have a lot to discuss." Emma shouted, "Let us save our home. Right, Dad?" Her enthusiasm sparked genuine smiles across worried faces. "Exactly," Jack said, feeling the surge of hope. "We have to create a plan. We need voices, ideas, and most importantly, we need each other." As they began brainstorming, a wave of ideas flowed. Some suggested raising funds, others proposed a festival that would showcase the town's history. Each suggestion built atop the last, like bricks forming a wall against Martin's looming threat. Every time he felt doubt creeping in, he looked at Emma. She believed in him. They were rooting for one another, a foundation woven from shared purpose. But as hours passed, Jack felt the weight of responsibility press heavier on his shoulders. Could they really fight against someone like Martin? He forced himself to push those thoughts aside. Each cheer, each shared laugh, brought them closer together. It was a beauty that couldn't be bought or demolished. Just as the sun began to dip low, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, an incoming phone call sliced through the camaraderie. Jack's heart dropped. He recognized the number. It was Martin. His instinct told him to ignore it, but something pushed him to answer. Jack, Martin's voice came through, cool and calculated. "I trust you're having a lovely get-together. I just wanted to remind you I have my ways. You're outmatched and you win this." Jack's pulse quickened. He had to be careful with his words. "This isn't just about you or me," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's about the town, our family. We will not back down." Martin chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. Family? You may wish to rethink your definition of that word. I'll be watching. The line went dead, leaving Jack holding the phone, his heart racing. He turned back to the group, who had been watching the exchange with worried eyes. Everything okay? Emma asked, her innocence cutting through the tension. Jack nodded, but the lingering question hung in the air. What did Martin mean by family? The horizon seemed darker suddenly, filled with uncertainty. He took a breath, feeling the warmth of his community around him. We have work to do, folks. Let us not lose sight of our goal. But even with his brave face, deep down, he questioned if any plan would truly be enough to withstand the storm that Martin had in store. As night began to wrap around them, a flicker of rebellion ignited within Jack. He had to find a way to protect this life, to safeguard the community. But at what cost? When dawn broke again, would they still be standing? And would he be ready for Martin's next move? The following morning arrived cloaked in a gray mist, and the atmosphere felt heavy with unrealized tension. Jack awoke with the remnants of last night's conversation echoing in his mind. Martin's words gnawed at him, a slithering doubt that threatened to coil around his resolve. He sat up and glanced at Emma, still deep in slumber, her little face peaceful. Determined, he slid out of bed and pulled open the window, letting the cool air rush in. The sound of birds chirping was a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within him. He needed clarity, a plan, something to anchor himself and his community in the looming chaos. After a quick breakfast, Jack headed to the barn, the familiar scent of hay calming his frayed nerves. A few neighbors were already there, huddled together over a table strewn with papers and sketches. They looked up as he entered, their expressions a mixture of hope and apprehension. We were just discussing ways to fundraise, Ms. Rhodes said, her tone more assured than the day before. Maybe a bake sale combined with an old-fashioned picnic? Jack felt a spark of inspiration. What if we expanded that? A community festival. We could have booths, games, local talent. Murmurs of agreement swirled around the room, filling the space with energy. They all began tossing ideas back and forth, and Jack felt that flicker of hope turning into a flame. Emma bounded in, clutching her notebook, her eyes bright. Dad, can I have a booth for my art? Of course, he replied with a grin. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and for a moment, the weight of their struggle faded into the background. But as the plans took shape, so too did a persistent dread. Martin, wouldn't he just sit back and watch? Jack glanced at the clock. Time was running out. They had to set a date for the festival soon. But they needed volunteers, skills, everyone working together in this fragile bubble of unity. Let us split into teams, he urged, feeling the urgency. We can handle logistics, marketing, and find out what local businesses might join in. The team broke off, energy buzzing as people moved into different corners of the barn, a hum of creativity swirling around him. Jack looked around, feeling the flicker of optimism bolster in his chest. He caught Emma painting a sign for her booth, her brow furrowed in concentration. A little later, as laughter echoed against the barn's wooden walls, Jack caught sight of someone approaching the local sheriff, Sheriff Durkin. He was a stout figure in a brown uniform with kind eyes, but they looked serious now as he entered. Conversations quieted as the sheriff raised a hand. Sorry to interrupt, folks, he said, his voice steady, but I've just had a rather unsettling conversation with Martin. The room tensed immediately, filled with worried glances. What did he say? Jack asked, his heart sinking. He made it clear he intends to make your lives difficult during this festival. He's looking for ways to intimidate you all. A nervous murmur rippled through the group. Jack felt his heart race again. That's what he meant by family, he said quietly, realization dawning. He's saying he'll use anything and anyone to manipulate us. Sheriff Durkin's expression softened. Listen, you have my support. The town stands with you, but you need to be careful. Stay vigilant. I'll have extra patrols during your event to keep an eye out. Jack nodded, feeling a mixture of gratitude and dread. The stakes weren't just about the festival anymore. They were stepping into a battle against a force that wouldn't play fair. Emma tugged at his sleeve, pulling him back to the present. Dad, are we still doing this? The festival? Jack looked at his daughter, so full of life, and felt renewed determination surge within him. Yes, we are. We're not backing down, not now. As the group rallied, excitement reignited amidst the lingering shadows of doubt. They would fight back with their joy and tenacity. But would that be enough? With the festival approaching, Jack knew the real test was just beginning. He couldn't shake the feeling that Martin had something more sinister planned. Would they be able to withstand whatever storm was coming their way? The barn bustled with energy as everyone dove into their tasks. Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose, but the shadows of uncertainty loomed large. He knew Martin wouldn't make this easy. Yet, he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the voices of his neighbors, their laughter cutting through the anxiety. Emma had taken center stage, zealously waving her paintbrush like a conductor leading an orchestra. Every stroke of color on her sign brought her vision to life. "Look, Dad, it's going to say Emma's Art Corner," she exclaimed, her cheeks flushed with pride. "It's perfect," Jack said, kneeling to her level. He could see the sheer joy radiating from her. It was moments like this that reminded him of what they were fighting for. That joy, that innocence, was worth every risk they faced as the festival plans blossomed. Jack's heart swelled with hope. They brainstormed ideas for games, food stalls, and inviting local musicians. The creativity flowed, and for a few brief moments, Martin's threats seemed far away, a mere whisper on the edge of a tempest. "Let us set our date for 2 weeks from today," Ms. Rhodes proposed, her voice ringing out with undeniable conviction. "Yes, we need to move fast," Jack agreed. The urgency to prepare made everyone lean in closer, their eyes alight with determination. But just as the group began solidifying plans, the heavy roar of an engine cut through the laughter. They looked up to see Martin's truck rumbling towards the barn, gaining speed as it approached. Jack's stomach dropped. "What's he doing here?" someone whispered, and the room fell still as the engine died. Martin stepped out, his presence draining the joy from the air. He scanned the barn, an unsettling grin creeping across his face. "Looks like you are all getting quite cozy here. Planning something special?" His voice dripped with mockery. Jack gritted his teeth, fists clenched at his sides. "We're having a community festival, Martin. A chance for people to come together." "A festival?" Martin laughed, the sound harsh and abrasive. "You really think a bake sale is going to save you from reality? You guys are just wasting time." Jack took a step forward, his heart pounding. "We're not wasting time. We're building something. Something you can't destroy." Martin's smile faltered, a flicker of dark intensity in his eyes. "You don't truly understand what you're up against, do you? You'll see." Before Jack could respond, Martin turned and walked away, the tension thick as fog around them. A collective breath caught in everyone's throats. "Don't let him intimidate you," Sheriff Durkin said. His solid presence helped ease some of the anxiety. "We'll be prepared. This community stands strong together." Jack looked around the room, catching the eyes of his neighbors and friends. He could see the fear but also the determination etched on their faces. If they came together, they could face anything. Later that evening, after everyone had left, Jack and Emma remained, cleaning up the barn. "Dad," she said softly as they tossed stray papers in the trash, "do you think Martin will really try to ruin our festival?" Jack paused, looking at his daughter. "I don't know, honey, but we'll be ready for whatever he throws at us." A brief silence hung between them, the setting sun spilling golden light through the barn doors. Jack took a breath, gathering his resolve. But deep down, he realized that uncertainty wasn't just about Martin. It was about what would happen if they failed. The festival was their chance, a beacon of hope. However, each day leading up to it felt like a tightrope walk. It would take every ounce of courage to ensure it would succeed. As they finished, Jack felt a flicker of warmth in his chest. "Tomorrow," he promised Emma, "we're going to make this festival amazing." "You mean it?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely," he affirmed, and for a moment, he could picture the joyous scene they'd create. Yet, as he shut the barn doors, The weight of Martin's unshakable presence pressed against him. What if their dream was only the calm before a storm? Jack knew one thing was certain. They had no choice but to fight for it. And as he tucked Emma into bed that night, a sense of dread seeped in. What else had Martin been planning? Would the festival bring them together or drive them apart? The sun rose the next morning, casting a warm glow over the barn. But Jack's heart felt heavy. The gleam of a new day was dimmed by shadows of worry. Martin's words replayed in his mind like a scratched record. What do you really understand about what you're up against? The thought gnawed at him. Dad, can I help with the signs? Emma's voice broke through his reverie, pure and bright as always. She was already buzzing with enthusiasm. Of course. Let us get started, Jack replied, forcing a smile. He needed to shake off the unease, for her sake more than his own. They grabbed supplies and set to work designing colorful signs that would hang around the barn at the festival. As they painted, Emma chattered away about the games she'd planned for kids. Can we have a treasure hunt, Dad? And maybe a pie-eating contest? Absolutely, Jack said, caught up in her excitement. He felt connected to her joy. A treasure hunt sounds perfect, but we might need a lot of pies. Huh? Emma giggled. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed outside. Jack glanced out the barn door to see several neighbors approaching with tools and supplies. They were rallying together, ready to lend a hand. Each face radiated hope and commitment. Here to help, called out Tom, bringing along his own paint supplies. Jack's chest swelled with gratitude. Glad you all could make it. We have so much to do. This was their strength, mutual support amid uncertain threats. As they worked together, laughter and banter filled the barn, drowning out any lingering fears. However, in the back of Jack's mind, Martin lingered like a dark cloud. During a break, he overheard two townsfolk murmuring, "What if he tries to sabotage us?" One whispered. Jack joined them, unwilling to let their worries fester. "We can't think like that. Let us stay focused on our goal. The more we come together, the stronger we become." The group nodded, determination burning brighter in their eyes. Still, Jack felt uneasiness churning in his stomach. He had always known Martin was unpredictable, but now every cheerful laugh echoed with an underlying tension. As the day wore on, the barn transformed into a vibrant hub of creativity. Decorations hung like bursts of color against the rustic wood, each one marking their efforts and hopes. By later afternoon, energy buzzed like the warm summer air. Everyone stepped back and admired their work. "It's going to be amazing," Emma said, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Yeah," Jack agreed, smiling with pride. But then the jubilance was cut short when a rumble of distant thunder shook the air. "Looks like a storm is coming," someone said, glancing at the sky. Dark clouds began to gather overhead, and an uneasy silence settled over the group. Jack felt tightness in his throat. The chaotic weather felt like an omen. "Let us finish what we can today. We've got to stay on track," he shouted over the whispers of uncertainty, his voice firm and even. But just then, the unmistakable rev of an engine echoed in the distance, a fearful reminder that Martin was still out there. Jack tensed, his previous determination wavering, and he met the worried looks of his friends and neighbors. "Get ready. Whatever happens next, we face it as a community," he said, though doubt crept in as everyone glanced toward the approaching noise. Was it just the storm they needed to fear, or was Martin the real tempest? Jack knew the answers lay just ahead, waiting to unfold. A sense of urgency gripped him as they braced for whatever Martin was planning. Would they find the strength to confront him? Or would the storm, both in the skies and from Martin, tear them apart? The storm clouds loomed thick and heavy in the sky, casting a shadow over the barn that had become a sanctuary of hope. The sound of Martin's engine revving drew closer, a reminder of the chaos that could erupt at any moment. Jack could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. "Keep working, everyone," he encouraged, trying to keep the fear at bay. The urgency in his tone made everyone hustle a little faster, paintbrushes moving in a flurry of color against the rough wood. Emma's laughter still rang bright, a beacon amid the uncertainty. But Jack couldn't shake the apprehension that rooted itself in his gut. Suddenly, the barn doors creaked open. Jack spun around, and his heart lurched as he faced Martin standing in the entrance, a dark silhouette framed by the storm brewing outside. All chatter ceased. The atmosphere shifted, crackling with tension like static before a storm. Well, what do we have here?" Martin drawled, a sly grin spreading across his face. His confident entrance felt like a thunderclap, drawing the eyes of everyone in the space. "Planning a little festival, are you? Looks like a lot of effort for something that could go up in smoke." Jack stepped forward, bravery blooming in his chest despite the creeping fear. "We're doing this for the community, Martin. No matter what you think, we stand together." Martin's eyes narrowed, the playfulness suddenly giving way to something darker. "Oh, I think you're going to need more than just unity to get through this. You don't understand what you're facing." The words hung between them, heavy and menacing. Jack's heart raced, the pounding echoing in his ears. He felt the weight of his neighbors watching him, their eyes filled with uncertainty. He couldn't let them down, not now. "Get out, Martin," Jack said firmly, sucking in a breath to steady himself. "We're not afraid of you." The words felt powerful as he spoke them, even if doubt trembled inside. Martin chuckled, slowly, as if Jack had just told a bad joke. "You should be. I have my ways of discouraging people when they think they can take on more than they can handle." He motioned to the dark clouds overhead. "And Mother Nature can be a real ally of mine." With that, he turned on his heel and walked away, leaving Jack and the crowd in a stunned silence. The rev of the engine faded, along with Martin's presence, but his threat clung in the air like the heavy humidity before a storm. Jack turned, scanning the worried faces of his friends and neighbors. Anxiety radiated off them, fear seeping deep into their expressions. Emma clutched a paintbrush like a lifeline, eyes wide. What did he mean? Jack knelt next to her, brushing her hair away from her face. "He's trying to scare us. But we're a community, Emma. Together we'll face whatever he throws our way." Everyone began to rally again, but Jack could still see doubt flickering in their eyes. He needed to reinstate that spirit they had nourished all day. "Let us finish these signs. We can't let him win." As they set back to work, the sky opened up. Rain began to pour, drumming against the roof with a ferocious rhythm. But they kept painting, even as the colors began to run together. Jack felt a surge of determination flood his veins. Maybe Martin was right, maybe they faced an uphill battle. But they would not back down. Just then, a bolt of lightning struck nearby, illuminating the barn in a brilliant flash. Everyone gasped, hearts racing. Jack had a sinking feeling this was just the start. Martin was looming larger than ever, and the storm had only begun. "Hold your ground," he shouted, gripping the edge of a table for support. "We face this together." But as the rain poured and winds surged, a growing unease threaded through him. What was Martin truly capable of? And more importantly, would their community withstand the storm that was surely about to come crashing down? The rain hammered against the roof like 1,000 hammers, drowning out any chance of calm conversation. Jack looked around the barn, where the once vibrant energy was now subdued, the laughter replaced by the sound of rain-soaked brushes against wood. It felt as if the storm outside was mirroring the storm in their hearts. Emma still gripped her paintbrush tightly. Her knuckles were white. "Jack, what if he comes back? What if he brings more than just words?" Her voice shook, carrying the weight of their fear. Jack felt the flicker of doubt again, but he forged ahead. "If he comes back, we'll be ready. We're not the first community he's tried to bully, and we won't be the last." His words came out stronger than he felt. Behind them, Mrs. Henderson wiped her hands on her apron, the worry etched deeply into her features. "I've seen his type before. He'll bring trouble if we show any signs of weakness." Jack moved toward her as the echoes of her fears settled in. "We're stronger together. If everyone here stays focused on why we're doing this, we can push back against anything he throws at us." He locked eyes with her for a moment, searching for reassurance. A flicker of hope ignited in Mrs. Henderson's eyes. You're right, Jack. Let us finish what we started. She straightened her back and took a few swift steps back to her task. Jack felt a tiny smile creep onto his face. The rest of the group followed suit, encouraged by that small spark of unity. Paint began to fly across wood again, determined strokes defying the noise outside. But Jack's heart still raced at the looming threat. Martin wasn't done. He could feel it in his bones. Suddenly, the barn lights flickered ominously. Jack froze, bracing himself. The flickering persisted, shadows dancing and stretching in unnerving ways. "No, it can't be," he whispered. Then, without warning, the power surged through the barn and then cut out completely. The world was plunged into darkness. Only the storm raging outside illuminated the edges of the barn through the cloud bursts. Gasps and murmurs filled the air. Jack's heart raced. "Everyone, stay calm. We got this." He heard footsteps as people moved around, trying to find their bearings. Emma's voice cut through the panic. "Jack, what do we do? It's just so dark." "Grab the lanterns," he shouted, his voice echoing in the darkness, hoping to instill some order. "Light will chase away fear." With urgency, they scrambled around, retrieving lanterns and matches from the supply crates. Jack felt his heart thud in his chest, echoing against the fear that threatened to swallow him whole. As the first lantern sparked to life, its warm glow flickered against the damp wooden walls, rolling over faces of concern and anxiety. Slowly, others lit their lamps, illuminating the barn in soft, golden light. It wasn't much, but it felt like a fortress amid the turmoil. Then the door creaked open, and the dark silhouette returned Martin. His grin was devilish, a predator drawn to the flock. "Well, aren't you all just cozy?" Jack felt a chill run through him. This was it. The battle wasn't just against the storm outside. It was right here, right now in their sanctuary. Jack took a step forward, heart racing. But with the flickering lights of the lanterns, he felt a rush of courage sweep through him. "You don't scare us, Martin," he declared, his voice carrying the strength of all those behind him. But doubt lingered like the storm clouds above. What would he have to do to break them? And how far was Jack willing to go to protect those he loved? He could sense that everything was about to change. The storm raged outside, its ferocity competing with the tension in the barn. Jack stood firm, heart pounding, as Martin's presence cast a shadow over the flickering warmth of their lanterns. "You're a fool if you think you can bring back a past that no longer exists," Martin taunted, stepping closer, the tension thick enough to cut. Jack held his ground, the faces of his community standing with him, neighbors and friends who had shown unwavering support. Their eyes were lit with defiance, bright against the growing darkness. "We're not trying to bring back the past, Martin. We're building our future." The words came spilling out like the floodwaters outside, full and powerful. "Future? What future is there when you're standing in the way of progress?" Martin snapped back, fingers dancing over the tools of manipulation he wielded expertly. "You and your little festival won't save your shop or your precious community. I will take everything you love, Jack. Don't underestimate me." The room felt heavy, each word a lead weight on their hopes. Martin's grip on their fears felt like a palpable force. Jack swallowed. Every nerve in his body screamed to turn back, to retreat into the shadows creeping around them. But looking at Emma, her head held high and paint-covered hands clenched tight, he felt a surge of hope. "Every step you take is a step toward destroying what this place stands for." Jack spoke louder now, defiance building like a shield around him. "You think a development is progress? People here know better than that." He pointed toward the gathering, feeling emboldened by their solidarity. "People, they want security." Martin scoffed, gesturing dismissively. "You're all too blinded by nostalgia to see what's best for you." But Jack could hear the murmurs rising behind him, a wave of solidarity swelling as they responded, their voices warm and ignited. "This community is our security. It's what we've built together." Martin's expression shifted, confusion mixed with annoyance, and it revealed chinks in his armor. He opened his mouth to respond, but Jack pressed on. "The laughter here, The celebrations in the park, they're worth fighting for. That's what our kids deserve. At that moment, Emma bravely stepped forward, paintbrush still in hand. I want to grow up knowing my home is special. We can't let you take that away. Her voice rang clear, cutting through the tension like a sharp wind. Martin faltered, the unity in the room brightening like the lanterns alight around them. The crowd erupted in a chorus of encouragement, echoing Emma's strength. We stand together. Fueled by their resolve, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. He could see fear diminish in the eyes of his neighbors, replaced by courage. Let us show him what this place really stands for, he shouted. We're not just a line on a property map. We are a family. At that moment, Martin's fury transformed into something darker, slashing through their hope as he spat. You think you're strong? I have everything I need to crush you. With that, he turned away. But Jack knew this battle had only just begun in the days leading up to the festival. The urgency intensified as they poured their hearts into every detail. Their laughter filled the air, a symphony of hope against the backdrop of Martin's looming threat. They shared in preparations, stirring batter, painting signs, and crafting vibrant decorations that mirrored the soul of their community. The day of the festival dawned bright and clear, with sunlight pouring over the barn. The energy buzzed with anticipation. Every neighbor supported one another, each corner of the barn filled with the spirit of togetherness. Emma laughed as she dashed among friends, enthusiasm infectious, dashing past booths radiant with color as the first guests began to arrive. Jack could hardly contain his happiness. The food, the games, and the laughter wrapped around him like a hug. But in the back of his mind remained a caution, a gnawing worry that Martin would find a way to strike. When Martin did arrive, however, it wasn't in the way Jack expected. Instead of chaos, he walked in with a crowd of reporters and cameras, hoping to undermine their event and exploit their vulnerability. Look at this, he announced loudly, a desperate attempt to cling to an illusion. The crowd paused, uncertainty rippling among them like a breeze through tall grass. Jack stepped forward, heart racing, determined to take this moment back. This isn't an illusion. It's our reality. Martin sneered. You expect these festivities to win over someone like me? You don't have a chance. That familiar fire sparked within Jack once again. You're wrong, Martin. The real strength doesn't come from power or money. It comes from heart, from the people who care about one another. And today, you're learning that you can't take that from us. The crowd erupted, voices rising like a physical force of defiant energy against Martin's harsh words. Jack felt the ground beneath him shift, a wave of strength washing over. Emma joined him, her small frame overflowing with determination as she shouted, You can't take away our happiness. Martin's confidence cracked, revealing a hint of concern as he realized the unity present before him. As neighbors cheered, the vibrant spirit of their community wrapped tighter around them, solid like a fortress. With this kind of support, any threat seemed flimsy as the festival blossomed around them. Laughter pierced through the clouds of uncertainty. Jack watched as the community came alive, shining bright against everything Martin represented. He caught glimpses of neighbors young and old, dancing and celebrating in the glow of what they had preserved together. Eventually, as the festival gathered steam, even Martin was pushed to join in under the weight of resilient laughter. All right, he muttered, forced to accept the moment. But don't think this is over. Jack met his gaze, heart brimming. We look forward to seeing you in court, but your attempts to intimidate us are futile. The power of unity will always rise above greed. The crowd erupted in cheers that felt like a tidal wave of hope, washing away the shadows that Martin dared to cast. As the sun dipped low, painting the backdrop in radiant shades of orange and gold, Jack held Emma's hand, feeling the joy that they fought for fluttering in the evening breeze. They had fought back, held fast, and proved that community mattered. They had ignited a fire, one that could never flicker out. Together, they had transformed a moment into a movement. As he looked around at all the smiling faces, Jack realized this was not just about the fight, it was about celebrating what they stood for. A testament to perseverance, spirit, and community. And in that moment, he knew they'd face whatever came their way. together. Join the journey and be part of the stories that inspire. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss exclusive stories like these. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure everyone sees this message of hope. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.